violence, combat, competition. It's in our blood. It's in our nature to test our skills and seek out victory by any means necessary. You are about to witness a competition like no other. 36 amateur fighters in 3 weight classes will do battle in a grueling league, fighting for points and a chance to be crowned champion. With so many variables, few things are certain. One will rise, many will fall, and no one's getting paid. Tonight, 2 undefeated fighters finally cross paths with the chance to advance to the semi-finals, while in the other group, a fireproof competitor looks to keep burning his way through his opponents. Competition, it's in our blood. And tonight, that blood will be spilled as these warriors fight to survive among the global MEGAfist 12.
We are getting closer and closer to crowning our champions by year's end. In the global MEGAfist 12, it is time to get one step closer. At 155, it is the lightweights tonight, their 4th fight, episode 12. We're live as always from the Nougaty Center in Branson, Missouri. My name is Derek Osceola. I'm joined as always by Lucille Cramblethorne. It's a great night of fights. It's going to be a fun night. We got lightweight action tonight.
It's going to be a fantastic night, Derek. The lightweights always bring it. They're small, they're scrappy, they're tough. They leave it all in this octagonal-like caged structure. I am really pumped for these fights. These small gentlemen are outstanding.
Small in stature, but big in heart, grit, and other sort of intangibles that it is. We've got a lot of fights to go through. First, rules of this competition. All of our fights, amateur mixed martial arts bouts. As again, no one getting paid. No proper training prior to this global MEGAfist 12. So we're having 3 2.5-minute rounds rather than the typical 5 minutes. 150 seconds each. That will count down in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. A 10-point must scoring system, meaning the round winner gets 10 points. His opponent 9 or less. As always, the typical rules: no to the groin, no hitting the back of the head, no wailing and gnashing of teeth, and of course, if any of our fights go to a decision, our 3 judges will score it based on aggression, damage done, control of the octagon-like structure, and of course, when necessary, consulting the orb of all-knowing power. But
all hail the orb.
Yes, we have a lot of fights tonight, including a main event, which based on the performance of these fighters, I don't think that will need to be happening. I think we're going to get a very clear finisher in this one. Beginnis Swordhouse and the Goblin Rob Lynn, both are 3-0. Not a single one of their 6 fights combined has gone to not even a decision. I'm looking at it right now. They haven't even gone to a 3rd round between the 2.
That's dedication to getting in and getting out as quick as you can. I gotta show a lot of respect and admiration for Swordhouse and Lynn. This is going to be an outstanding fight. I can just tell.
No doubt about it. And of course, with our point structure, that if you're familiar with this tournament, you are familiar with that. We'll go over it a little bit later. Finishing a fight earlier means more points, which again puts them atop this standing. Sticking in Group B, we've got some other ones. This is a pivotal fight. Trevor Serrano, with 6 points, takes on winless Vern Wintergreen. A big win in a quick fashion could turn the tide for either of these 2 fighters.
Absolutely. Wintergreen does not want to get relegated. I haven't looked at the standings. I mean, he might be kind of stuck in that position depending on how things shake out. But a win's going to help him to maintain his status in next year's Global MEGAfist 12. And Serrano, he's in the same boat. He does not want to go down to the Hyperfist tournament. That's not good for anyone.
Well, a win in any fashion, even, in fact, just avoiding a loss for Sereno, I think would just about do it. I think a win for Sereno would, in fact, prove him safe. And I think he would need to win out to even put a challenge on one of the top two. Speaking of challenging the top two, our third place fighter in Group B, Kale Howard, will get things started this evening. He takes on another winless fighter, Zeke Apnea. And you were talking about Wintergreen needing a win badly. Apnea as well, and those two fighters will do battle in the final group stage match. It will be an interesting battle. It's a race to the top. It's also a battle to avoid the bottom.
Absolutely. Zeke Apnea he's not even been stuck in first gear this whole season. He's been stuck in neutral or maybe park, on the side of the road with his hazards flashing. He has not looked good out there. And Kale Howard is not the easiest guy to turn things around, but Apnea is going to have to try his damnedest to avoid losing another one here. Howard has looked very, very good in his 2 wins.
After a difficult start for Howard, he got 2 very good wins. He scored a submission victory over Vern Wintergreen, knocked out Trevor Sereno in the 3rd round with seconds to go. He is looking very good as of late. Let's pivot over to Group A, our co-main event. Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs, JC Switcher at 11 and 8 points respectively. I mean, there is no room for error in Group A, and it's gonna result in 2 fighters out of the top 4 being very disappointing, coming ever so close. It might come down to those final fights.
Absolutely, and I just want to say to Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs, earlier this week was Veterans Day. We want to honor Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs for all he has done and sacrificed for our country, for all the countries around the globe. He's done a lot of military things, and we just want to honor that tonight.
I absolutely couldn't have said it better or more specifically myself. Also, a happy Veterans Day and a thank you for JC Switcher's service. Understand the department store had a massive Veterans Day sale. He was standing on his feet in a neutral position, modeling activewear for many hours on Monday. So again, thank you to both for their service. That is going to be a big fight to look forward to. Charlie Valentine, coming off of a loss to Miroslav Florislava, wants to get back to his winning ways. He's got Ruben Fondant in front of him, the winless Ruben Fondant. Don't want to assume anything, but it looks pretty good so far for Charlie Valentine. You have to imagine he's going to look to get another submission victory added to his record.
Yeah, Fondant has been falling apart, just like the cakes he makes for those toddler birthday parties. And Valentine, I had my doubts at first, but yeah, his submission skills have proven to be very solid so far in this tournament of rank amateurs. It's pretty impressive what he's managed to pull off.
Rank amateurs indeed. Fondant looking for a big win, also looking for a win desperately. Eddie Andromeda, not sure this is the fight he's gonna get it. He's facing Miroslav Florislava, a man we don't appreciate for his choice of fight gear, but no doubt about it, Florislava has proven he can fight. We actually have to wonder what he'd be like if he was maybe less inhibited by the asbestos he wears.
Absolutely. It's definitely a factor. And, I did manage to speak with Andromeda earlier in the week, and, he said he's here fighting for survival. He thought he'd be a prince of the universe going into this tournament, but that has not been the case for Mr. Andromeda.
Yeah, it'd be unfortunate. Again, we've talked about the shortcomings of Andromeda. We'll get to that fight in just a bit. However, getting things started is Zeke Apnea taking on Kale Howard. Apnea is about as awake as you're gonna get from him. He's got an energy drink sponsorship. He also horribly underslept, showing up in his boxer shorts as always, ready to sleep. Opponent, Kale Howard, the vegan activist. He's very plant-based. He's kind of filthy. I guess has never found really a proper vegan soap. But far be it from me to judge a person based on their preference, especially when it comes to diet. We look at the tail of the tape. Lucille, looks like the slight advantage goes to Apnea.
There's a slight statistical advantage, or biometrics, I guess, but that hasn't proven to help him out in the actual fights. And Howard with the choice of chewing on ice cubes, that's gonna keep your focus. It's gonna keep you mean, and I think that's what's necessary in an MMA bout.
You have to watch out for Apnea again with those sleeping pills. Never really seem to work for him. He's just loaded up with them, but he starts things off. And we are seeing quite the start here. Into the clinch, Apnea's looked good, just come up on the short end in a lot of his fights. He took McGinnis Swordhouse to 2 rounds before ultimately succumbing to a TKO. But Kale Howard, this might be the way to take on Kale Howard. You just kind of smother him, and I guess I'm trying to figure out what a key to victory would be for either of these two men.
Well, I think you're right there, Derek. If Apnea can smother Kale and just get that all the blood and sweat and stink of flesh in Kale's nostrils of just 2 live bodies pressing against each other, it might disgust the vegan enough that he makes a big mistake and opens something up for Apnea to just steal the victory.
No doubt about that, and of course smothered kale is definitely a delicacy. I think with Thanksgiving coming around the bend, that will be something that Howard will want to maybe prepare for whatever sort of family event he is attending. He's using that clinch rather nicely at the moment.
Yeah, that is assuming, of course, that Kale Howard is still invited to any kind of family events anymore.
Yeah, we really don't know much about him. I think anytime you start to talk to him, he just gets on about his causes and just goes. He is having trouble at the moment. Apnea lands a good punch from the mount.
Big heavy shots from Mount. Apnea, if he can get that good top position and just use the gravity as his benefit, but Howard with a nice sweep to reverse position. Unfortunate for Apnea. He's familiar with being flat on his back, and Howard is looking for an arm triangle with a few seconds left in this round.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think our feed we lost our feed for a second. We're going to try to get that back on for you, but yeah, the round is over. Apnea held on from that. There we go. We have our feed back. I apologize for that. Had some video issues. But nonetheless, yeah, we have. So obviously, we go to our second round. Apnea able to survive that attempt to be put to sleep, and he doesn't seem to mind when it happens to him in his 3 losses so far.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, it's like my my grandpappy used to say: never trust the state of Missouri for video feed capabilities.
That's a fair assessment, and nevertheless one that thankfully has come back to work for us at this point.
Take him down.
But a little bit of coaching from the corners, and see if Howard and
Okay, fighters, are you
Apnea
ready? Are you ready?
and take this fight to the next level. I kind of felt like this one was simmering a bit. Perhaps there's another gear for this to go into. Perhaps the hazards might just be off for Apnea, and he's no longer just hotboxing in his own driveway.
Absolutely. He was looking, or he had a few moments of success in this fight, especially once he got the fight to the ground and he achieved mount on Howard. But he's got to play it safe because it's very easy, especially with these guys that don't know what they're doing and what to look for to lose a position and get reversed. And Howard is definitely looking for that right now.
And I'm looking at the performance of these two fighters. It looks like I think Zeke Apnea has only been as far as we got another submission attempt, a Kimura from Howard with about a minute into this round. Apnea has gone. This is now the longest Apnea has been in a fight this tournament. We just surpassed 62 seconds into round 2 in his loss to Beginner's Swordhouse. Cale Howard has gone nearly the distance. His knockout victory over Trevor Serrano went 10 seconds short of being a decision victory. It was good for 4 points. And he's at 9 points and 3rd place.
It's very interesting. There's certainly fighters who are first round fighters, and if you can survive the first with them, you have a very strong chance winning. Zeke might be the opposite, where if he can survive the first, his chances of winning as the fight progresses might help him out. He's used to being tired all the time. Some of these guys, they don't know how to operate when they're sluggish and not thinking straight, but that's Zeke on any given moment of any given day.
No doubt about it. I think you might be onto something. Perhaps he just needs to last a little longer, and suddenly again the land of the tired. In the land of the tired, the sleepless man is king, and Zeke Apnea could be crowning Cale Howard with the right shot. We are heading to the last few seconds. I think we'll be going to round 3 unless something explosive happens in these last few seconds. It looks like we are, in fact, going to go to round 3, putting 4 points now on the board for a potential winner. 5 points off the board now. Of course, if that means nothing to you, then it will be explained in a bit. In short, a win is good for 3 points. There are bonus points if you can finish your fight. So a 3rd round finish will be worth 4 points in total. A 1st round finish, 6 in total, and a 2nd round finish, 5 in total. Of course, all of this will be explained after our 2nd fight in our little video package for those unfamiliar. But again, a nice little uppercut right to the rib cage, and working the body. Just again, might be the best option against Apnea.
Yeah, digging those shots in, and if you can get Apnea sucking wind, that's going to really open things up if you're Cale Howard. I've got to be honest, I don't know who's exactly winning this fight so far. Of course, I am not, as commentators, we're not allowed to consult the all-knowing orb, but even without the orb's power, I couldn't tell you
ominous.
I couldn't tell you who's really winning this fight. It's been very even. Howard has had a few submission attempts, but they haven't really gone anywhere.
Going for another one right now, an armbar, 20 seconds into this, the 3rd and final round. Again, any sort of humming you hear over the microphone, apologies for that. That is the all-knowing orb. But again, it's just ominously looming behind us. It's a little unsettling. I'm just trying to put it out of my head. I don't truly know what its power entails. But again, we are not allowed to really look into it.
I was advised not to look at it directly, at least without special glasses or a special orb viewing box over my head.
Yes.
And it's not anything I really want to take a chance on.
I will tell you, I definitely saw some things I don't want to speak of from accidentally just glancing at it. I'm afraid that anyone who just is unable to consult it, which again, our 3 judges, the only ones able to. Please don't mind anyone in this Branson, Missouri crowd who might be sounding like they are going insane. That just means they have perhaps stared into the orb for too long. Again, we don't want the warnings have been posted and announced on the big screen here in Branson, so it's that. The most important thing is that avoids any lawsuits. Oh my goodness!
What happened?
Well, I don't think the orb is necessary there.
Did Cale Howard look at the orb?
I don't know. We're gonna have to see a replay to see if he actually made contact, but it looks like Zeke Apnea still just very heavy eyes. Looks like he got something out of there. Knee right up to the face and collapsing.
Devastating.
Cale Howard. Well, the first win. Wow.
Yeah, that first shot, I didn't see anything. But then, yeah, that replay, that knee just right up the middle, right on the face, just Cale Howard out cold.
Colder than a bean salad. Zeke Apnea, the first win, always the toughest one, goes from 0 to 4 points and puts himself into, at least a position to not be relegated. Going into his final fight 3 episodes from now. Coming up next, we'll see if another winless fighter can pull out the same kind of surprise. Eddie Andromeda takes on Miroslav Florislava. Don't stop him now, Eddie Andromeda, lead singer of a Queen cover band, a renowned Queen cover band. He's had 0 wins so far. He's no lack of enthusiasm, but needs a win. His opponent, one of the more dangerous fighters, not just for his opponent, but also for us, because he is literally wearing asbestos. And I'm annoyed about this again. Lucille, you want to take us through the tale of hate?
Yeah, Eddie Andromeda is the smaller man. Miroslav Florislava is the terrible man, and I really wish that Missouri could do something about this, but they have proven time and again that they don't care about anybody. They just want the $10 entrance fee that we have to pay each episode to put on a show in the Newbity Center.
And well, we look at this right now. Eddie Andromeda, we've talked about him being undersized even for lightweight. You hate to say it, he's got talent, he's got speed. You know, he just seems to be outmatched in all of his fights, and perhaps the fact that he's just so undersized might have to do with it.
Yeah, if there was a featherweight or maybe even a bantamweight segment of this Global MEGAfist, maybe next year he might see some success. But yeah, he's just struggled. He's had a lot of trouble against these bigger fighters. But you know, we saw one guy 0-3 get his first win tonight. Maybe we'll see another one, and it couldn't happen against a worse person and to a better person if Eddie Andromeda could defeat Miroslav Florislava.
Yeah, again, apologies if you had trouble understanding us. We have to just kind of cover our nose and mouth with handkerchiefs due to the fact that we don't want to breathe in the asbestos that this man is actually wearing. He's 3-0. I mean, aside from that, he's a great fighter. He's just also kind of an ass when it comes to our ability to live without, mesothelioma.
There are other flame retardant chemicals and substances he could use. He chooses not to, and that's a character judgment against Miroslav Florislava, and we all hate him for it, to be honest.
It's a choice, but it's one that actually is to our detriment. I'd rather he be like an active smoker where I have to deal with secondhand smoke. That's gonna suck too, but I'd at least be okay with it.
Yeah, absolutely. This though it's putting us at risk. It's putting every opponent he's faced at risk. It's putting the referee. It's putting the camera people. It's putting everyone in the arena at risk. Any big strike could definitely send fragments of that asbestos into the air of the Nugget Center, and you don't know where it's going to land and whose lungs it's going to enter.
No doubt about it. Well, again, there's very few of this Missouri crowd that have actually prepared for it. It's weird. There seems to be almost like a weird fan section that seem to just be pro-asbestos, which, again, cannot stress how nonsensical that is. But here we are.
Yeah, I was told there's a asbestos fans Facebook group that have embraced Miroslav Florislava, and I think a lot of those people have made the trip here out to Branson tonight to support this gentleman.
Are you ready?
Yeah, he did look pretty good in this opening round.
Yep.
He looked good at striking. He looked good on the ground against Andromeda. Oh, big axe kick early on.
Well, again, it's not for lack of talent. I'll give him that. And good recovery from Andromeda, but man, that was just the heel of his foot cracking on the top of the skull of Eddie Andromeda, but he seems to have got a good position, looking for perhaps a submission. He's got the body triangle, taking the mount, trying to do something with it, but again, just being overpowered.
Yeah, in a lot of cases, if the skill level is, surpassing the opponent, the size sometimes doesn't matter, but, these skill levels are both pretty much zero, so it is pretty much all about size for a lot of these fights, and Andromeda just is sorely lacking in that one category, unfortunately.
No doubt about it. Well, again, Florislava, we're getting close to the halfway point in this fight. Second round, Andromeda, again, winless so far. And to his credit, Florislava undefeated so far in Global MEGAfist 12. He's got a TKO victory over Charlie Valentine. He went to a decision with JC Switzer, and he knocked out Ruben Von Dant in the first round. Andromeda has gotten as far. Oh, goodness!
Big uppercuts!
Big one! And drops him. Referee was ready to jump into the way he fell. And yeah, it's over. It's over right there.
God. I think one of those might have hit Andromeda in the back of the head as he was falling, but that's really no fault of Florislava's. It's just the factor of bodies in motion kind of being unpredictable. But another big win for Miroslav Florislava.
I was just gonna say that Andromeda has had a habit in his last two fights of making it to the third round before ultimately losing. But he just got overpowered by the undefeated body. I will say, the favorite in Group A, I think so, and at 4-0, 19 points, I think that's going to clinch him a spot in the semifinals. He's got one more fight in the group stage against Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs, but that might ultimately that might have no consequences. I think Florislava, looking at my math and my notes, I think this puts him into the semifinals already.
Well, as they clear the octagon-like structure, we of course have a want to take a quick break from the action and explain to you. Well, first off, we have coming up next in just a few moments, we have Trevor Serrano taking on Vern Wintergreen, another winless fighter, looking to get a 1 in that win column. We've seen one of them happen before. Will this be the second one? But before we get to that, we're going to take a quick break from the action. And if you're new to Global MEGAfist 12 and you're not familiar with this point structure and how this whole tournament works, well, we got an explanation for you. And here it is.
The Global MEGAfist 12 is a grueling competition like nothing ever seen before in mixed martial arts. First, the 12 fighters are drawn at random into 2 groups of 6 fighters each. Each fighter will face off against the other 5 in their group. A win is worth 3 points, while a draw is worth 1. In addition, bonus points are awarded for how fast a fight is won. Winning in the 3rd round is worth 4 total points, a 2nd round win is worth 5, and finishing a fight in the 1st round gets you 6 points in all. After all 5 rounds of competition, the 2 fighters who finish in last place are relegated from Global MEGAfist 12 and must earn their way back in next season. They will be replaced by 2 fighters from the Hyperfist qualifying tournament. The 2 5th-place fighters will be matched up against 2 more fighters from the Hyperfist qualifiers, with the winners earning their spot in next season's Global MEGAfist 12. The top 2 fighters from each group advance to the semifinals, where the 1st-place fighter from each group will take on the 2nd-place fighter from the other. The winners of these fights will do battle for the championship. It all comes down to one thing: win, and win fast. And the title of Global MEGAfist 12 champion awaits.
Coming straight from the gym is Vern Wintergreen. You can see he's already glistening with sweat, which I've learned, as boxers would point out, a sign that he's well and warmed up. Perhaps he's just had a shower. Perhaps he's done his proper warm-up. I don't know. His opponent, Trevor Serrano, high school guidance counselor, with a past that, well, it's all over his body, a past that I'm sure is nothing of any sort of problem. So no need to really talk about it, why there's a big MS on his chest area, but we do in fact have the tail of the tape.
Yeah, Wintergreen, another small lightweight, just struggling against these bigger fighters. Sereno, he's got a 4-inch height advantage. He's got a nice 3-inch reach advantage. He's going to have to use that because Wintergreen is a strong guy. He's short, he's stocky, he's powerful. But Sereno, he can definitely, find avenues of victory with some of his somewhat bigger frame.
And one of the most important things about Wintergreen is he can keep you. He can. If he gets hold of you, he will keep you there in an uncomfortable position. More often than not, that being him naked talking to you in a locker room situation. But Sereno Sereno's record, I feel like, doesn't truly reflect his talent. He got a TKO victory over Zeke Apnea, then had a TKO loss to Rob Lynn, who again, one of our undefeated fighters in the main event tonight, and a surprise loss via knockout to Cale Howard, which was quite a war. I feel like we're still waiting to see something big from Sereno, and this could be a chance to showcase it against a struggling fighter like Wintergreen, who has just taken down Sereno.
Yeah, Sereno has shown flashes of decent skill. He just has struggled to put it all together in more than that one fight. His victory, but he's looking good against Wintergreen right now, looking for a key lock, it looks like.
Interesting arm lock at that point, and Wintergreen might be looking at this as a chance for.
A nice reversal.
Very nice reversal. Wintergreen might be looking at this as a chance of. Here's a fighter struggling, maybe lacking confidence. He can maybe take advantage of that. So it's always a possibility, but Sereno again back on top.
Yeah, it's interesting, putting a guy like Wintergreen flat on his back. Can he really generate a lot of power from his hips and just to say that he does manage the sweep. He's an older gentleman. You think he wouldn't maybe necessarily have that kind of drive, but he does not skip leg day. He doesn't skip any day in the gym, to be honest.
No, any opportunity, I think, to just get out there and get that going.
Yeah,
and that's going to be the end of first round, and very back and forth. I think you were just about to say it. Go right ahead.
Yeah, very, very back and forth round. That submission from Sereno really didn't amount to much, but I don't know. I think Wintergreen had some decent shots when he did get on top briefly. Both guys look to be cut around the eye. We'll have to monitor that to see if that necessitates any kind of doctor intervention or just a stoppage by the referee. Of course, there's no doctor here. I don't know why I mentioned that. Just thinking.
Mostly, it's just as a nice cover to just make it seem like there's some proper coverage here. I mean, I think if nothing else, we can have someone consult the orb to see if medical attention is necessary.
Yeah, I mean, unless maybe Dr. Igor Tonik's just in the crowd watching the fights, he might weigh in with if the fight should continue or not. But
yes,
that's
of course,
about it.
Dr. Igor Tonik. It's always a possibility. I didn't even think of it.
Oh, nice! It looked like it was going to be a body kick, but Wintergreen kind of ducked into it, and he's short enough that it was
took it right to the ear. It looked like.
Absolutely, and a nice elbow on the way up from Sereno as well. I think we saw a knockout in a similar
big one.
Oh, big shot!
Saying it. Oh, and quickly, refereeing coming in to stop that one. Can't say I blame them, honestly. That seemed bad for that seemed really bad for Sereno, or sorry, for Wintergreen. But that is how Trevor Sereno gets back in the game. Snaps a 2-fight losing streak. Interesting
that I think last week we also saw a ground and pound flurry that was stopped with not the deciding blow, but a knee to the body was the last strike landed. I mean, obviously Wintergreen was pretty much out, but that last knee to the ribs really insult to injury for Wintergreen in that situation.
No doubt about it, and again, those knees to the body. I think what the referee saw was just the lack of the moment of just giving up. I think is what really did it in. So,
yeah, the lack of defense of any sort from Wintergreen. But a
Pretty
big
much
win
that.
from Sereno.
Yeah, big win for him. Snaps the streak and puts him at 11 points and in third place at the moment, where he will stay going into the final fight. Coming up next, Charlie Valentine looking to move into second place, taking on the winless Ruben Fondant. Ruben Fondant, let's not say that he's happy to be here. I think the sad baker of Ruben Fondant, he's happy to not be in the bakery at the moment because, well, we'll get to it later. Opponent, the Oklahoma Cupid, the matchmaker from the prairies, Charlie Valentine. He is ready to, well, he's got a match for himself. It's him versus Fondant. Again, Ruben Fondant, the baker, the cake maker, who has to sadly watch as his creations, his beautiful artistic creations, are destroyed before his very eyes by kids excited for like a SpongeBob cake or something.
Yeah, it's a sad, morose life that Ruben Fondant lives, and it's been made worse by his winless streak. It's been rough out there to be Ruben Fondant for the past couple of weeks.
No doubt about that. He's had it very difficult, time with it. He's still here, winless, 0-3, and gets dropped and diving right into it. Is Valentine.
Nice reversal by Fondant, moving into the open guard. Valentine thought maybe he was looking for rubber guard of all things, but I think he was just grabbing his leg for maybe the comfort of just grasping something.
Very possible indeed. Fondant on the losing end on 3 different occasions. Looking at these stats, they've all been by knockout or TKO. Charlie Valentine has gotten a knockout win over Eddie Andromeda, but a submission victory over Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs in his first fight. Which, considering what we know about Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs at this moment, that could be that's a very impressive win. And big drop.
Back-to-back big uppercuts off the stuffed takedown attempts.
Credit to Valentine for going to avoid twice, but seems a little silly when he eats a big uppercut both times. 50 seconds to go in this round. Big knees from Fondant. He's looking all right.
Yeah, he's looking very good so far. I really hope for his sake he can keep it up and get a win in this situation.
I'd like to see it. I think at the very least, the fact that he's keeping this fight standing, I think, is helping him. Valentine tends to go for those submissions, and I think with 17 seconds to go in the first round, I like this strategy for Fondant. I don't know if I like the clinching, but he seems to be good when there's distance between him and the opponent, where he strikes the land.
Yeah, he's shown some decent ability to dodge punches so far in this fight.
I was gonna say his takedown defense has been great. He did give up a takedown but just at the very end. And yes, the morose maker of desserts is making it to the second round. He's bloodied up. Charlie Valentine cut on the bridge of the nose. It's gonna be uncomfortable
Probably
for
from,
Valentine. From one of these two, yeah.
Yeah, those
Has to be.
big, heavy uppercuts. I think Fondant really developed that power, with his sacks of flour and sugar in his bakery all day. And it's kind of ironic, I guess. Fondant, he makes cakes and he's miserable. He makes sweet things and he kind of hates it for the end result. Valentine, he loves seeing sweet things. Sweet couples come together. You'd think there'd be maybe a chance for their businesses to collaborate, but
well, perhaps outside of this octagon-like structure, there does seem to be quite the match made in.
Let's go, guys! Fight.
In business heaven, I think. I wouldn't doubt it, but I mean, at this point, it's all for points. 5 points if one of these two fighters gets a win in the second round.
More good takedown defense from Ruben Fondant, and Valentine is he's looking kind of desperate, but he's going for a Kimura.
Going for it again. This is a problem. Fondant does not seem to be really able to get out of it. It's looking really deep. That's his cranking, and there it is. Yeah, that's his whisking arm. He's got a tap immediately from that one.
Ruben, he was looking so good too, and like one of his cakes, just destroyed at the end. Tears all around.
That is fair, and it's unfortunate, but it's a big win for Valentine, putting him into second place at the moment, depending on how the next fight goes between Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs and JC Switcher. Charlie Valentine is your winner, and that means that Eddie Andromeda and Ruben Fondant will be battling in essentially a relegation battle in the final episode of the lightweights, episode 15 of the group stage. It will be Fondant versus Andromeda. That's going to be one for all the marbles.
Yeah, that is going to be a very good fight coming up. Can't wait for that one. That's going to be a crackerjack, as I think the kids still say. They still talk about Cracker Jacks, I believe.
I'm sure they do. I mean, baseball is still a thing, so why wouldn't it be something from the actual from the actual song about the ball game? But nonetheless, coming up in just a moment is that fight we were talking about. Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs taking on JC Switcher with pivotal points in play and a chance to possibly be in that top 2 slot in Group A. However, we are going to go ahead and talk to you about what you'll see. Ignore the date at the top. That is an outdated graphic due to some programming changes and some schedule changes. We will be back on Tuesday of next week. That is Tuesday, November 19th for episode 13 as we finalize the heavyweight division and the group stage. I believe as of right now, the way we're looking at it, Fritz Milgram and Lonnie Fescue, if I'm looking at that correctly, they have already made their way into the semifinals. So Group A on the left side. Those are going to be some great fights. I think Volt versus Fescue will be an interesting one. Zoltan versus Milgram will be a test for Fritz. And, of course, Little 42 The Answer versus Nicholas Polka. That one is basically academic. I think Polka is already relegated. Milgram and Fescue already on, so those will just be finishing up the group stages. But all to play for in Group B on the right side of your screen. That is Oliver Lehman taking on Dr. Igor Tonic. That is 1 versus 2. and Dan Rodenta taking on Damian Adder with a great chance to sneak in with a high point winning victory over Damian Adder. If he can get that, that would be huge for him. Plus, we have Guff Magnuson in action against Gabe Donahue. Guff at 0, looking to try to avoid relegation. He'd need some help. He'd need a win and some help from elsewhere. But all to play for. I don't think Lehman is necessarily safe. And I don't believe that Tonic, I don't think there's a single spot clinched in Group B. We've got Rodenta, Tonic, and Lehman. One of those three is going to be left on the outside.
Yeah, next week is going to be outstanding. Tonic and Lehman is two titans of the heavyweight division clashing. Something I've been looking forward to all season long. Damian Adder, Dan Rodenta, you got the snake enthusiast, you got the squirrel man. That is a clash of nature, millennia in the making. Serpents versus rodents. You can't get any better than that. A guy like Magnuson, he does not want to be relegated. He's going to be fighting for his life. Nicholas Polk, on the other hand, I think he's ready to head to the malls of America and don the Santa suit. I think he's been checked out mentally for a while, and he's got to be careful that Low 42 the answer doesn't do something just outright vicious to him.
He doesn't want to be knocked unconscious, woken up, and be told that he's missed Christmas entirely.
Yes. Speaking of, I believe Low 42 the answer's mixtape might have dropped. I don't know if maybe we'll get a chance to
November
to
13th. Yes, I believe that was.
It was yesterday.
Was it not? Yeah. So we'll have to see if we can get a hold of it.
Yeah, we'll have to see if we can check some of it out. Maybe if he wins, we can listen to some of it next week.
He can spit some bars, I think is what is being said. But we have 2 more fights to get to, and we're getting to our co-main event, a big one. Lots up in stake in Group A. Let's get to it now. Fresh off a long-standing busy sale, the living mannequin JC Switcher, pumped up, looking for a big win to put him into position to make it to the semifinals. Again, his opponent, Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs, the brave veteran of, well, his shirt says Army. He actually says that he tends to wear that just because he doesn't want to draw too much attention to all the other missions for all the various other armed forces of America. He keeps referring to there being at least 8 or 9 of them. Not sure which ones he's counting. Maybe he's double counting. But anyway, we go to the tail of the tape, and Switcher's got a little bit of height and just a touch of reach advantage.
Yeah, he's got a little bit on Gibbs, but you can't discount the heart of a troop, and there's no better troop than Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs.
Yeah, it'd be disrespecting the troops to assume that to even assume that Gibbs doesn't have a puncher's chance. And here we go. Gibbs currently sitting at 8 points. He's got 2 wins, a TKO victory over Eddie Andromeda, and a TKO victory over Ruben Fondant. Needed to go to the 3rd round for both. His only loss, a submission loss to Charlie Valentine, the first fight of the middleweights back at episode 2. Switcher, a knockout win over Eddie Andromeda. Lost to Miroslav Florislava by decision. The only person to have faced Miroslav Florislava and not taken him the distance, so that's got to be worth something, I think, for Switcher there. And of course, his most recent fight, a KO win over Ruben Fondan.
You know, it is something to take Florislava to a decision, but it kind of also means he spent the longest time in close proximity with all that asbestos, which, you know, if he has cardio issues later on, well, we might know what the cause were. He's looking for a guillotine early against.
Yes, he is. He's looking. He's got it cranked very nicely, and Gibbs doesn't look too worried about it. I think he's just kind of hand fighting. You see, he's got his right hand kind of on the wrist, keeping it from being cinched in, which is good, and he's out of it. I think Switcher just kind of gave up on it after a while.
2 minutes as
well.
Yeah, it's tough for the you know, for really top level grapplers to finish arm in guillotines, and you know, these guys are far from that.
They just may not know that that's what they're going for. And here's a Kimura attempt from Switcher. Just has the arm locked in, looking to just wrench it and dislocate the shoulder, but Gibbs able to get out and again work on the top position. And again, you can see how these fighters tend to mature over the course of this season. Still making mistakes as amateurs with only, at this point, 3 fights under their belt, but not making the same mistakes that they make in the first fights.
Oh yeah, if you were to go back and watch, you know, these guys' first appearances, it's night and day. I mean, there are a few tendencies that are, you know, cropping up, but there's a lot of improvement, and that's very impressive for such a short amount of time, and for, you know, really no money for training camps for these guys to improve the way they have.
Yeah, on the ground, you can catch them all day long in that triangle and that armbar.
No doubt, as we reach the end of round 1, pretty evenly matched. Neither fighter looks too tired. I think Switcher breathing a little heavy. You know, going for those submissions can tire you out, especially if you put in a little bit more effort than maybe you should be at this point. You kind of, you know, the professionals tend to know when a submission just may not land, and they don't go for it nearly as long. We saw a guillotine that he had Gibbs in for quite some time, and of course that Kimura.
Yeah, those can definitely burn your arms out, and, you know, if your arms get burned out, you know, they get heavy. It's going to be harder to throw strikes, to defend strikes. You know, so yeah, a professional really knows when to pour on the pressure and when to hold back. But you know, some of these newbies, they get a little excited and they go all out, you know, too often and too quickly. So we'll see how well Switcher has recovered from those attempts in the first. Big takedown. Looks like Switcher's bleeding quite a bit. There's a lot of blood on Val Gibbs.
And blood, we can't quite see where the blood is coming from.
I know Switcher's got a cut around one of his eyes. I can't tell if Gibbs is cut anywhere.
Still trying to figure that out, but here we go.
Gibbs
he's taking that top position, so, which if nothing else wins that round.
Big reversal from Gibbs to get on top of Switcher. He's got a lot of blood on his arm. That is I don't think that's a cut on his shoulder. I think that is from another source that has fallen.
Yeah, it's got to be from Switcher. I think there's can't really see what did it. I'm not entirely certain I know what did it.
Yeah, big shots from Switcher on top though. He's looking to get a good position, but they just wriggle their way back up to a standing base. Nice clinch work from Switcher.
Yeah, looks pretty good. He looks like he seems to be kind of dominating Gibbs at every turn. I don't see any sort of moment of this fight so far where Gibbs has really been had the upper hand, you know?
Yeah, Gibbs had some pretty good, hooks at the very beginning of the first round that I think caught Switcher unawares and forced the takedown early. But since then, and as I say, he's landed a few more of those big, powerful hooks. But Switcher is not as phased by them. It seems he's willing to stand and trade. He's willing to take to the ground.
That was a front kick that looked very close to being a knee to the face, and we are getting down to the last few seconds.
Uppercuts.
Oh, big left hook goes for the finish. If only he had a few more seconds, I think he might be doing it. Drops Gibbs. With just a second to go.
Saved by the bell.
Escapes with his health.
It's not a retreat. It's a tactical disadvancement, I believe is the term.
I think so. Disengaging from battle. That is
You swim that on. Good. Okay, he's tired. His
about
legs
as
are tired.
safe as you can get.
Okay, push the pace.
That was about as close to a finish as you could have gotten. Maybe a second more, and Gibbs might have taken that loss in the second round.
Wow, what a round.
Big hook.
Yeah,
head
Switcher
kick.
very easily won that round. I think could have easily finished it had he given just a couple more seconds. I think he was ready to do that.
Yeah, and Gibbs might not be fully recovered. That is not a lot of time to get your brains unscrambled to go back out there. And if Switcher's smart, he'll really attack, and he is looking for it. But Gibbs is firing back too. Nice. Oh, failed takedown attempt. Failed slam from Gibbs, and Switcher just lands on top and mount.
Indeed, and again, Switcher going for those submissions. He's staying active, and I think, if nothing else, the judges will look at this when scoring the fight. I mean, I don't think there's really any question right now that that Switcher is winning this fight. I'd have to say that's a pretty safe assumption, but there's still, a minute 40, 100 seconds to go in this fight. A lot of time still for this tide to turn, for Gibbs to get a finish.
Yeah, a lot of time, and Gibbs is on top in very, very strong position if he can get something going offensively with this mount. Switcher is looking to, he's very quickly recovered into full guard off of that mount. Oh, nice reversal from Switcher.
Yeah, it seems like Switcher just has an answer for everything so far.
Yeah, Gibbs can't do much on the ground, and on the feet he's landed a few good shots, but the damage, has really swung in Switcher's favor on the feet as well. So Gibbs is kind of stuck with no real avenue for victory, in my opinion anyway. I mean, there's always a Hail Mary chance for something big to land, but he's got to go quick. He has precious little time remaining. Guillotine attempt from Switcher. Let's see if he can lock this up with about 30
cinch
seconds.
up the finish. I mean, yeah, at this point, 4 points are at stake versus what would have to be a certain 3 points for the win. And, definitely,
Beautiful.
I think it looks like we're going to a decision.
Yeah, Gibbs could not really get any offense going in this fight.
He was completely stifled.
Stop. That's it.
Wow.
It's over.
That's going to be it. I think the decision is going to be clear. I don't even think the orb will need to be consulted by the judges. I think that's very clear from everyone involved. Well, Switcher looks ecstatic, as he should. That was about as dominating a performance as we've seen for 7.5 minutes of a fight in this entire tournament. I mean, you have to assume it's going to be Switcher's fight. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't.
Absolutely. I mean, we're in Missouri. We're dealing with mixed martial arts judges who often are bizarre creatures that do not follow logic or reason, but yeah, I would be shocked if it's anything but a unanimous switcher decision across the
Let's see
board.
what we have. I mean, it's going to be 3 points for the winner, and it goes to Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs.
Respect the troops, I guess, weighed heavily in the judges' decisions, or maybe the orb is a troop.
I'm
do not-
so baffled by this.
That was not what anyone was expecting. That
I would have to agree with you on that one, Lucille. I don't understand how that one even works as far as a decision. But we have our main event coming up, and boy, is it going to be a good one. Swordhouse and Lynn, fists are going to fly, and it's time for that now. Well, the Goblin Rob Lynn is ready for action. He is 3-0 with some devastating knockout power. Renaissance Fair enthusiast beginner's sword house. You know, it might as well be the main jousting tournament at the end of the evening. It brings everyone to watch the main attraction. Sword House is used to this, and we're gonna see these two could not be more different in style. But in stature, they seem to be fairly identical. They are the same height. Their reach is almost the same. Their build is very different. But, again, how do you call this one, Lucille?
Yeah, I honestly don't know. I mean, Swordhouse has looked strong and powerful throughout this whole season. Lynn, you know, I've said it before, he has surprised me time and time again. I really need to stop underestimating his skills. He is a legit competitor. This is
2 second-round TKOs and a first-round knockout for Rob Lynn. Swordhouse. All of his wins in the second round, 2 TKOs and a knockout. This one, they show they have the power, and they're swinging heavily right to start.
Yeah, big power shots from both men, looking to get those 6 points and really take a first place lead.
Yeah, I think Lynn with 16, a first round win. Well, for either of them, will solidify their spot in the semifinals. Looking at the math, and we'll go over it in just a bit. Miroslav Florislava has, in fact, clinched a spot in the semifinals. I think the winner of this fight will likely do the same unless it goes down to a decision, but we'll have to see. I can't imagine the power these two hold that we're going to see a decision. And, well, Lynn strikes first, trying to go for the finish. Be a TKO. He is hammering down at Swordhouse.
Wow. Big diving punch. It was kind of a Superman punch to the grounded
a horizontal Superman, perhaps. And we are getting down to a minute left into this first round of the main event. Rob Lynn, Canada's best pickpocket, voted 3 years in a row. He wears it like a badge of honor on the back of his trunks, taking on the Ren Fair enthusiast beginner's Swordhouse. What a sweep by Lynn!
Wow. I really expected Swordhouse's, his weight and his hips and those chainmail shorts would just keep him stuck to the mat, but Lynn just really, surprised me with that little move.
Just kind of bridged up, I think, a little bit, and then just used his momentum. And we are seeing just under 20 minutes to go, 20 seconds to go, excuse me. Big spinning back. Oh my God!
Oh my God!
Oh, he's out!
Holy
What
cow!
power from Rob Lynn! And he just stole the consciousness of Beginner's Swordhouse, and with an exclamation point, put himself into the semifinals.
Jeez Louise.
Right behind the ear. That is
Oh,
a
gosh.
dangerous spot to land such a powerful punch. And Swordhouse was leaning in, so it might have even clipped the back of the head a little bit.
I thought the round was just going to tick away and we were going to the second, but Lynn just stole that victory from under everyone's noses.
He absolutely did. And again, just like his profession, his trade, he is. No one expected that, and wow, what more can we say about that other than let's just recap our results. We'll get back to that one in a second. I don't even know how we sum this up, but tonight, these were the results, and now it's time to see how it lands. We are going to see some fights come down to the wire in 3 weeks' time. There we see it. Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs, a dubious, controversial decision win over JC Switcher. Charlie Valentine, the submission win over Ruben Fondant. Miroslav Florislava over Eddie Andromeda. And there you see it. There is how this will shape up. Again, ignore the November 13th. That will be an updated date sometime in December, early December, I believe. But we're seeing it right now. Miroslav Florislava, that is mathematically, he in fact has clinched a spot in the semifinals. Charlie Valentine and JC Switcher could be fighting for a semifinal spot, but Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs, with a win over Florislava, who has nothing to fight for other than just his general health, could slide in there as well. And meanwhile, Andromeda and Fondant fighting to stay in the MEGAfist. 6th place, drops out and has to qualify back again. It's going to be it's everything to fight for in Group A.
Absolutely. Florislava is guaranteed at least 2nd place, depending on, of course, how some of these other fights shake out. But yeah, Valentine and Switcher, I think, is the fight I'm looking forward to the most. I mean, there's so much on the line there. Gibbs, I respect the troops, but I don't think he should be in this position. I think Switcher, gosh, it tears me up to say this, but Switcher should be in a better position to move on to the tournament itself. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. So
I will say this: Switcher, had that decision gone Switcher's way, we'd be talking about Florislava making his qualifying already, and Switcher versus Valentine as simple as winner goes in. It would literally come down to that, but Gibbs has had new life breathed into him. But he's got his reward for that is a fight against Miroslav Florislava. And well, that's how it goes. Let's take a look at Group B, where it's a little more cut and dry. We're gonna have a little bit more to talk about there, but it's a little more clear and decisive. Rob Lynn with that knockout victory. Just what a wallop of a shot. Trevor Serrano, big win over Vern Wintergreen. Zeke Apnea, welcome to the scoreboard there, and that's how we see it shape up. Wintergreen versus Apnea will be a relegation battle. Apnea just needs to get that win. Wintergreen needs to finish Apnea. A decision will not do it. He needs 4 points, as the tiebreaker is, in fact, head-to-head. Lynn versus Howard. Rob Lynn already in. He's 7 points clear of second place. Rob Lynn is qualified. Cale Howard unable. Cale Howard has a chance. Actually, let me do some math for a second. Cale Howard, I believe, mathematically is out, even if he gets the 15 points. Swordhouse has the tiebreaker over him, which means it's as simple as Sereno versus Swordhouse. If Sereno gets a finish, Swordhouse is out.
This is
It's as simple as that.
Yeah, that's going to be a great fight. Lynn has dominated impressively. Wintergreen and Apnea. I'm going to be intrigued just to see who's going to stick around next season. That's going to be a good fight. But yeah, Sereno and Swordhouse. That is the one to keep your eye on, fight fans. Coming up in a couple of weeks. That's going to be a great fight.
That will either have co-main event or main event status, I'm sure of it. Wintergreen Apnea, also a lot of implications there. We'll, of course, go over it once more when they come to you in 3 episodes from now. And, of course, this is what we will see next week on Tuesday night. We go to the heavyweights, their finale of the group stage. The fights to watch: Tonic versus Lehman, Adder versus Rodenta. Those are the ones to watch. They will be the ones that have all to fight for. Where 3 fighters, Lehman, Tonic, and Rodenta, have 2 spots to fight for to see who will join Fritz Milgram and Lonnie Fescue in the semi-finals. That is next Tuesday night, our normal night, at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll see you then. That is going to be it for us. Lucille, thank you as always for joining me. It's been a great night of fights. What a way to go out.
Yeah, that main event knockout from Rob Lynn was nasty. That was a great cap to a great night of fights.
No doubt about it.
Thanks to all the fans for tuning in.
Yeah, we're glad you all tuned in to watch that. Of course, we will be back again on Tuesday next week with more Global MEGAfist 12 action. That's going to be it for us. What a night of fights it has been. This has been the Global MEGAfist 12. My name has been Derek Osceola. Thanks to Lucille Cramblecorn. Of course, we always have our roving reporter. He just is roving somewhere else, Michael Oleander. Hopefully he'll be back again with us. What a night of fights it has been. We thank you all for joining us. Be sure to check us out, of course, on our special Wikipedia page for all the information, and of course on the social media to find out when you'll see us again. Thanks, of course, to most glorious and honorable Mr. Naga. May he live for 10,000 years for bringing us Global MEGAfist 12. Until next week, my name is Derek Osceola. Good night from Branson.